about queer art and the social effects of queer artists in different part of the world, mostly connected with US, Poland, and also Ukraine. This lecture is, I can say, some kind of introduction to the, this very big issue and very dynamic, which is changing every day, and it's starting to be in a very complex relations between different aspects of our life, not only connected with sexuality, gender identity, but also another social aspects like, for example, post-colonial studies. We will, at the beginning, we will start from the issue of gender studies, because it is a great starting point for the discussion what means queer studies, and what means normativity, what kind of reflection is main interest of our artists. The queer studies are quite new discipline of science, because the beginning is connected with 1990 with the person of Judith Butler in her book titled Gender Trouble. She created the issue of gender, which is another kind of identity, like biological identity, identity of sex, that we live in a very complex situation, that some kind of norm of identities, what means to be men, what means to be women, is mostly constructed by our culture, by our tradition, by our also heritage. And of course, because of different cultural differences between countries, the continents, these models of femininity and masculinity can be very, very different. The most important aspect of gender trouble, the theory of Judith Butler, is that our identity is performative. So it means that it's changing not only because of the models from the culture, but also it depends on the time. And also it depends on the life of a human, that our identity can also change during our life because of different situations, different environments, and many times we have examples that a human can discover his another kind of identity even during adult period. Queer studies and the issue of queer was, it is funny because the definition of the queer as a something different, in some way also funny, which is behind of different norms, was created by straights. And maybe this is the reason why a lot of representatives of LGBT plus societies don't like this this issue. For them, it's better to talk about the culture and art of LGBT plus people than queer, because it is it gives some kind of expression that it's something bad. It isn't positive. Because of this complexity of different identities, which broke, which broking a straight opposition between men and women, that we can find something in between of these two states to discover another, some kind of fluid also states. This intersection reflection can be in some way also difficult, but when we will look also what kind of influences, um, which kind of relations also can shaping and creating a new kind of attitudes and a new kind of art practices, we will see that the issue of queer and the issue of art activity of LGBT societies can be also analyzed, and we can discuss from another perspectives, also from ecological studies and also post-colonial studies. Please look into situation in Ukraine, or also into my country, Poland, how our past, our history, especially connected with Christian tradition, and also the effect of Soviet times, shaped the opinion of our citizens about queer societies, that it's not something normal, that it is something unusual and also not healthy. Um, as you as you know, this is also the element of Putin propaganda, that for Russians, everything which is connected with democracy in some way is also influenced by LGBT plus propaganda. That is something bad and which broke, the ground of Christian tradition. And now I will show you a set of different practices. We will start from the past. For me, the best artist at the beginning is Claude Cahun, the intersexual artist who tried to discover her a real nature and real identity during her life. This experiment with shaping her personality, with her identity, we can see in the set of her portraits, where a changing in her face, with her hair, and with her body. Such elements like clothes can suggest different gender states, much more masculine or feministic. Um, Queer artists in nowadays want to discover some kind of the history, uncover it, the history of LGBT societies, also in the field of the art, because of the motives, because of the personal life of different artists. Like here, we have McLean Thomas, American artist, where she focused mostly on the motives which are very close to her life. She showed her life as a lesbian, but also she showed her life as a black lesbian, which is Afro-American. This is the this example, great example, where the post-colonial studies are very important also to understand how complex are our today's subject. We see not only a very suggestive situation between intimate situation between two different women, but also we see very special atmosphere which is created by color, because also because of the ornaments and the collage techniques, which are very close to the aesthetic of African art. And of course, we see also a clear connection between a tradition of the motif of the two sleeping women. For example, from the picture of Gustave Courbet, which was in some way borrowed by McLean Thomas to share by her a private life. Another artist, gay artist, Shiketich, also Afro-American artist, where we see very suggestive, in some way, a Baroque photographies. It can be also understood as not only photographies, but also great paintings, where small attributes like clothes, like um, also a play of the body are in the real connection, are related to the classical motifs from European paintings, especially from the Baroque time. Zanel Muholi, artist from Cape Town, lesbian. In this documentary photographies, very sore in some way. We see a very difficult situation of lesbian women in the south of Africa, where these women fight with everyday problems in their societies and their environment, because of the position, because of their psychophysiological condition, as a women which are very strong, many times women which took very different professions which are much more closer to men, not women. And in some way, we can't discover or we have a problems to identify who is what kind of the person is on this photography. It is a woman or it is a man. Um, Also, I like this size-specific arrangement with a very strong and suggestive title, "The Language Must Not Sweet," where we have a set of the photographies of in the lightbox and also videos, where we have a guy, black guy, in different everyday activities, especially from the private space, private home of these persons, and we see also a special arrangement connected with water, with sand, which create not only interesting visual situation, but also interesting multisensual situation with a special smell. It is related to the problem how black men not only gay men, but also black men um, are understood by Americans that also with some kind of stereotypes that in some moments they are stinky because of sweat, that this sweat body has a special smell, and it is something which is painful for this artist, and he want to express it in this very sensual situation. Another artist, painter, Kent Monkman. Uh, Normativity. The aspect of normativity um, is something which we can discussing in a different levels. For me, it's great when we the aspect of normativity trying to understand from the perspective of Michel Foucault, who um, who defined it that the aspect of the norm is always um, defined by society. So also the aspect of normativity is performative. Here we have situation where we see the ingenious societies of North America. The situation before the age of the colonialism time. And when we will look careful into different phases, we will see that we don't have here a clear women and men, but also we have intersexual persons who were very usual for a culture of indigenous societies from North America. When we will look carefully to different indigenous societies in the world, we will see that LGBT people from the past took a very important role and had a special place in these societies, and they were in some way the element of normativity of the societies of these groups. Kent Monkman, another artist, also we see here this situation which is influenced by tradition because of the technique, because of the ornaments which we see, because of also situations which are very special for the culture of this artist. And we will look carefully into this situation. We will see a very oh gosh, I even forgot in Polish language the word, intimate situation between two guys, which create so beautiful ornament, like, you know, this floral and also architectural element, that it isn't something strange. It is something natural for this culture, for this environment too. Dan Wu, artist from Vietnam, he moved to United States a few years ago, and this is also the queer artist, and he wanted to show how LGBT plus people are, what is the image of this people in the American society, that they are some kind of strange element of the society. He wanted to express this situation by a huge scale. We see here the elements, some kind of the copies of the details of the monument of from New York. Yes, Statue of Liberty. Here we have a hand only, where the material and also this size creates something strange and normal in the gallery space. For him, it is a metaphor of situation of LGBT people in America. In America, Jess Fan, another artist from Asia, who moved to United States, also very sensual, because he used some kind of motifs, very organic, connected with body, connected with some kind of the organic processes, which are here changed into some kind of the puzzles as a form of the construction of the human personality, especially personality of his personality. But he also used some elements where these sculptures and installations connected with some performative actions, video works, where we see an interesting relation between a vivid body, skin. It is so suggestive that sometimes we even feel the temperature of the body. And different actions connected with this body. It's changing and shaping, as we see here, the architecture of furnitures, the environment of a private space of the artist. All here we see he engaged an actor. We see some kind of geometrical furniture, which is, as we see, not comfortable for us because of these triangles. So we have very bad connections with such shapes. And we see an organic structure, the human body, which is moving around this and on this object. And also we see the effect of this touch between body and this object on the face of this man. That it isn't a nice situation. That is very difficult. That it also show an expression that my body, my identity isn't related to the surrounding. Chris Vargas, here we have some kind of situation where artists want to prepare some kind of alternative institution which will be a museum of LGBT movements, which will show and will and covering for people the difficult story of gay people. Here we have example of the artifacts from Stonewall. But also we see much more complicated installations, site-specific arrangement, which looks like a professional museum space, professional educational institution, where we have the expression of this difficult story. Here, connected with transgender people. Rafael Esparza, artist from Mexico, he moved to United States because of his identity. As you know, Mexico is a country with a strong Christian tradition and with a very strict model of patriarchatic culture. He escaped to United States and starting to express his personal story and his difficult experiences connected with his country. We see not only the motives connected with his transgender personality, his researchings about his real identity, but also we see some elements, iconographic elements connected with Mexican tradition and also Christian religion, and metaphors like, for example, stones or even animal excrements. For me, it's one of the best project of this artist. We see it was, he showed this project during Whitney Biennial, one of the most important American art events. We see a wall with photos of gay men from Mexico. And here we have some kind of the pyramid made by blocks from animal excrements. It is a metaphor of their difficult lives, a very low position in the society, that many times the sexual identity and gender identity shaping their role even in the professional life, that they don't have any possibility to find a job in their real speciality connected with, for example, the level of their education. And also it show, because of the smell, that they are, not good element of the Mexican society. That in some way LGBT plus people in Mexico are stinky for Mexicans. Here we have a team of Hannah Quinlan and Rosie Hastings, lesbian artists. They are they took marriage. In their practice, they discovering their personality life, experiences from the past, but also the history of LGBT plus liberation movement. Here we have multimedia installation titled In My Room from 2020, where we have a video of with situations of gay men and lesbians, as we see in a very dark situation. It is the consequence that they wanted to create a situation where the gallery space will be like a basement, will be like some kind of a metaphor of, dark rooms from clubs for LGBT societies. that their love and this um, biological connection between two people, because of the culture, because of the tradition, because of the social norms, they have to hide in the different shelters. Here we have a drawing from the cycle about the history of LGBT movement. And Deborah Cass, lesbian artist, but also feminist artist. It is interesting because Deborah one time said that a queer art is also very difficult space, which is non-democratic because it's dominated by gay artists. We have a lot of, different famous gay artists, but many times we can't say any famous lesbian artist. Of course, she her theory about that is connected with the person of Andy Warhol. And this is the reason why she incorporated his art practice and even the features of his art into her art practice. So the motifs and also the composition of different images are shaped and produced exactly in the same way like it was made by Andy Warhol. She used for that the portraits, own portraits, self-portraits, but also portraits of American lesbians. And now we will move to the Europe and to the our part of Europe. At the beginning, I would like to mention about situation of LGBT societies in Poland, because the last 8 years were very difficult for us. In 2015, elections won a right conservative party, which completely changed and polarized the opinion and also the public discussion in our country. Their policy based on Catholic Church and the activity of the Catholic Church. Here we have a situation from a Polish Catholic Church from 2020, where one priest created his, we can say, opinion about the most bad aspects of contemporary life, which are in the conflict of the Jesus and the Christians. As you see, we see LGBT and gender as the first issues. And also we see some kind of interventions of the activists, LGBT activist Elżbieta Podleśna. She changed the color of Madonna on the icon of Madonna, which is one of the most important symbols in our country for the Catholic Poland, where we have the motif of the rainbow. It was the reason that our main persecutor decided to fight with this Elżbieta Podleśna, because for this persecutor, It was something which, is not good for Catholic people feelings. In the effect, we had a lot of public attacks from our government. Even our president said that during his president campaign in 2020 that LGBT aren't people, LGBT is only ideology, that it's a communist ideology. It's funny because in some way he said that LGBT is because of the Putin. So LGBT societies with women in Poland starting different marches, protests, even in the smallest cities to express their feelings and their pride, and also that we need to change our law regulations. It is important that European Commission in this time, on those time, said that our governments have to change the policy and prepare such regulation which are the same in the Western countries of European Union, where LGBT people can take merit, for example. Many times these marches were brutally attacked by conservative and Nazist organizations, which is important, weren't illegal during those time. Here we have an example of political propaganda. Non-LGBT cars, anti-LGBT vans, which we saw even in the small villages. It was financed by our government. These cars were full of images, but also with, a strong voice of a guy who were talking about danger LGBT propaganda. In the effect, here we have a map of Poland. A lot of different regions decided to change the local law to say that their region isn't for LGBT people. One of the famous LGBT activists from Poland created some kind of performative action, and he created this map of LGBT free zones and also a special signs. And he made photos of the signs on the border of each city and village where this law was created, established. Dramatic situation was on 8 August 2020. It was exactly the moment after the president elections. So in some way, here we see the effect of the president voice that LGBT aren't people, where policemen in brutal way decided to stop the march of LGBT people. We call this moment as a rainbow night. And it is interesting because we were talking before my lecture that women in Ukraine help for LGBT army in fight with Russia. Here in Poland, we have situation that LGBT people with women starting to fight for human rights. These marches in the different cities were organized by feminist and also LGBT societies. Um, and these events are organized even now after the change of our government because our law, unfortunately, wasn't changed. But we have a very good situation that at this moment, the activity of LGBT organizations is legal. That we have possibility to talk about our problems, our rights, and about our situations. This is interesting situation because here we have initiatives not only created by LGBT people, but also by their parents. Few years ago, also started in Poland a new energy, not only in the culture, but also in the science life. That a lot of different historians, especially, starting to uncovering the history of unknown LGBT people from the past. This book about gay men during the Second World War 3 years ago won the national competition, one of the most important national competitions for novelists in our country. Um, Here we have, in some way, some local story because here we see the monument of Maria Konopnicka, and her grave is in Łyczakowski Cemetery. She's the famous lesbians among Polish novelists. Even my elementary school has name of Maria Konopnicka, but in Poland we don't speak, loud about that, but we have a lot of letters of Maria Konopnicka and diaries where she expressed her love to her women, to her partner. And now some examples from Ukraine. And also for me, important because it is connected with Poland too. Kiev Pride, organization established in 2020. Also, during a Pride Month, they organized very suggestive and strong exposition about Ukrainian births and the beauty of a body of Ukrainian births. But because of the Russian aggression, in 2022, this organization with Polish LGBT organizations moved the march of Kiev Pride to Warsaw. And even in my city, in Kielce, always since the beginning of the war, we have a strong representation of Ukrainians during our march. So it is for me beautiful that a lot of Ukrainians who live in Poland now, they participate in these marches because for them it is not only expression of a freedom of human rights of LGBT societies, but also a freedom of a human in the context of Russian aggression. Here we have another example of Ukrainian organization, lesbian organization from Odessa, Bilkis, which is also a feminist organization with many of interesting initiatives, cultural and also social. And now we have this very, for me, important element of your history. Unfortunately, not so popular and not so well known in Poland, about participation of LGBT plus people, societies in the war, in the military actions. Probably you know this artist, Artus Snitkus, because he was living here in Lviv. He was a director and also a performative artist who unfortunately died this year. He was killed by Russians close to Donetsk. And now a few examples of art practices from our field from Poland and from Ukraine. I will start from Karol Radziszewski, 2005. I can say that it is a first diploma defense at art academies in Poland, where a student decided to show his real identity, sexual identity. He invited the exam commission into the flat of his grandmother. His grandmother was very special for him because it was a first person who Karol Radziszewski said that he is a gay. And for her, it was something normal. So her flat is a space of safety for this artist. His art intervention based on mural paintings because he graduated the faculty of painting at the Art Academy in Warsaw. In some kind of a comic convention with characteristic for queer culture color like red and pink. After diploma, he organized a set of performances titled Fuck Fighters with these chimney heads produced by his grandmother. She's in this photo. Karol Radziszewski started also discovering and expressing the difficult story of LGBT societies, especially during 20th century. Here we have a cycle of paintings related to the years of 1970s, where communists wanted to control LGBT societies. And this action where they persecuting LGBT societies was named Hyacinth. So this is the reason why he called the cycle of these paintings. The brutalism of this action is expressed also by this a special convention very close to prehistoric times paintings from the caves, and also geometrical stylization. Here we have also interesting intervention about difficult history of gay movement in the world because of the pandemic of AIDS, which was covered by the policy of different countries and also private concerns. This is the reason why he used the iconography from pop culture, where we have a situation that in the first view, we don't see this, you know, word which affect us as a something very, very hard and difficult for us, AIDS, like a form of mimicry. Um, it was made not only organized, not only in the galleries, but also on the streets during his art interventions in the public space. And now we have one of the biggest projects in his, I can say, not only art, but professional activity, Deconstructing, one of the first zines, gay zines in Poland, which we had possibility to buy in the shops. Very beautiful because of graphic design, and also very strong because of the set of articles about history and about situation of gay men in Poland and also in other countries. After a few years, Karol Radziszewski decided to focus in which edition on one country, and in 2023, in collaboration with Anton Szebetko from Ukraine, they elaborated issue about Ukraine queer art. With set of interviews, also LGBT soldiers, and another artist from Ukraine, among them with Szebetko. Also, Karol Radziszewski organized some kind of alternative institution, which he named as a Queer Archive Institute, which is, we can say, a wing of his scientific activity, and he built a really great archive of different publications, zines from different countries, mostly from Eastern Central Europe, but not only. Documents, posters, which show, you know, the condition and the activity of a cultural, of a queer culture. And in the same way, I can say that in Karol Radziszewski in Poland, now Anton Szebetko started to provide some researchings about queer art in Ukraine. His last publication, Queer History of Ukraine, I think is one of the best and the best at this moment. Based on his personal activities, art activities, but also researchings in Ukraine and also abroad, because after Russian aggression, he moved to Netherlands. There is and also a set of articles about a famous person, also artist and public person from Ukrainian life, which were gay or lesbians. And here we have a set of his art practices. We were here about especially situation of LGBT plus soldiers in Ukraine, about their not only identity, but also about their place in the society. That a lot of Ukrainians don't want to remember that we have in this example in this situation. Um, 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 we are in a close contact with a gay guy or a lesbian or intersexual person. Very interesting project of Szebetko from 2023, and now we have continuation of this idea, some kind of deconstruction of image of LGBT people in the public television from the communist time to nowadays. We have 3 screens from different times. The last one on the right is after February of 2022. On the left, we have from the communist period. We can say that it's a dynamic set of different recordings, audiovisual recordings from a varied times. And also documentary photos about Ukrainian LGBT society and abroad during Russian aggression. As a form of documentation which is interesting not only for people from another country, but also to show for Ukrainians how they live now. And as Karol Radziszewski, he started to organize some exhibitions in another way, that it isn't only the art exhibition, that the very important part of this project is its educational aspect, that it can be a form of a museum, for example. Another artist, Jana Bacicki, and here we have an interesting art activity where we have a deconstruction of tradition, we have the construction of Orthodox Christian religion, their influences into the contemporary time, how it's shaping the opinion about LGBT people, and how looks the role of LGBT societies in Ukraine in nowadays. She is intersexual artist, where we can say the main form of her expression are clothes, because it's something, you know, which is we can say that it is a form of a bridge between our organic aspect, our body, and culture. We see here some kind of costumes for her performative actions, but also assemblages, some kind of sculptures which are made by textiles, where we see a deconstruction of motifs from religions, from icons, and also from art from the past. For me, it is one of the greatest expression in Ukrainian art about this post-colonial aspect of the time of socialism, and also the activity of Christian church in our part of Europe, how it's shaping also our society and also our place for living. Also, she, as Szebetko and Radziszewski, decided to establish some kind of alternative institution, which is called as a Queer War Archive. It is a website where we can find different stories, different documentaries, and also photos, reproductions of art activities, queer artists from Ukraine who live very close to the war. Here we have a set of photos of LGBT soldiers connected, related to the interviews with them. You can read these stories, these interviews on the website Queer War Archive, but also an excellent examples of contemporary artists. Here we have Antigona, Lost on Freedom, a video for me very hard because of emotions and created relation between her body as a woman, as a lesbian, and also a brutal environment after Russian aggression in Bucha, Hostomel, and Izium, where we have some kind of conflict between something vivid and between death. About, you know, the conflict between a real person who are the member of LGBT society and Putin propaganda. Ola Jeremieva, We Accepted Death, a set of beautiful photos, but we see that these black and white photos are very brutal because we see disability of these women after a Russian aggression. Also in some kind of a Baroque style. And now artists from Poland, in the connection of the aspect of tradition. Daniel Rycharski. It is an interesting example of an artist who was born in the village. So in a very traditional society. Important is also that he's a real Catholic, and he fight for changing the policy of Catholic Church, that a Catholic Church will accept not only rights but also that situation that we are gay or lesbians aren't bad in the context of rights of the religion, Catholic religion. He started his activity from some kind of educational actions in his village among his neighbors. Fears. We see here a very, in some way, scary but also a positive installation where we have a motif very traditional for Polish village. Fears from the pools, from the gardens, and also Catholic and Orthodox crosses, which are in his action an element, a natural element of the environment from his village. Here is example of his activity in the dialogue with priests from a Catholic Church, and also the construction and criticism of the history of Catholic Church. And now we can say that it's one of the famous artists, Polish artists, because he was invited by Museum of Modern Art in New York to organize his personal exhibition with this installation Fears, which is a sign, some kind of a dialogue, that the most beautiful effect of his work that is that his village and his neighbors accepted his sexual identification, that he's a gay. Even for short period, he took a very important role in administration of his regime, that he represented his village in the governments. He wanted to show a pride not only a gay people, but also people from a village. And this is also a very nice sign for this attitude, a gateway which based on the traditional iconography from our country, which is a kind of a monument for people from the Polish village, but in the color of the rainbow. I'm sorry, this is a screen about from the activity of Jan Baczyński aka. It is a video of her deconstruction of Ukrainian tradition and history, which influenced the contemporary opinion of Ukrainians about LGBT societies. And at the end, Liliana Zeitz, a Polish lesbian artist, where we can find a very interesting relation between a queer art and also ecological discourse. She used natural elements for her collage, mostly wood, but you know, it is unhealthy wood. The color of this wood is because of the cancer of a tree. This is a metaphor that where we see in this organic a texture, a structure, a shapes of her and her partner in very intimate situation. My student said that it's a lesbian Kama Sutra in some way. And as you see, the color of this wood attacked by cancer is a sign, a metaphor of situation of LGBT society in Poland. And at the end, works of my partner. He is a poster designer. A set of posters titled Election Set about this difficult moment from the time when our president said that we are the people, where Wojciech used so strong signs connected with a martyrology from the Second World War, and also a radical, simple signs like a black cloud under a rainbow flag, where we can find some kind of expression that this black cloud is a expression of pollution in the air, but also a social pollution because of propaganda and because of fake news, etc. At the same time, I made some kind of deconstruction of propaganda channels of our government, where when I recorded some fragments of TV news where we had some discussion about LGBT people, and I mixed together and I used some kind of a glitch and sound and image effects to create some horror vacui situation where this set of images, dynamic images, create uncomfortable situation for the observers. And that's all. Thank you very much. And maybe you have questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Today, you are talking mostly about contemporary artists. Perhaps you know you know anyone who raised this issue in the past, 200 or 300 years ago, and what kind of tools they used. Thank you.
You know, it's a complicated situation because when we want to discover some stories of LGBT artists from the past, we have to find not only the examples of their art practices, but also diaries, letters, etc. Of course, for example, we can use newest methods of art analysis, which based on the psychoanalysis, where, for example, we have art historians who said that, for example, one of the most prominent artists of Polish patriotic art, Jan Matejko, was gay, because we have a lot of elements, shapes in his historical paintings, you know, where we have examples of different battles, very official moments, but we see the shape, for example, of a penis. You know, it's difficult to say who was. Of course, we know that, for example, it was Caravaggio, yes, or Leonardo da Vinci, but it is now it is important that we have to really started to provide researching in this field to analyze not only contemporary practice but also from the past. I know that, for example, Szebetko mentioned that probably Taras Shevchenko was also gay. But we have to find a real evidence for that, yes? So this is an open discussion, and it is a really open way for to provide researchings. Of course, it isn't easy. I'm sure that for example, I don't know which university would like to invite queer researcher for example, for PhD project.
Ukrainian Catholic University.
Really?
Just joking.
Because in Poland we have the same difficult situation. It was the reason why I decided 2 years ago to go for internship to United States. And you know, I was surprised that art historians in United States don't want to provide queer researchings. It is much more popular among theorists of drama, that we have a lot of queer researchers in the institutes of literature, of film, of of journalism and music, but not in the history of art. I don't know why. At the university where I was, there was a lot of researchers from the field of literature, but I was only me from the field of art history and art.
I just wanted to add that maybe Shevchenko was gay, but once we read letters of Grigory Skovoroda to his younger pupils, we can realize that he was gay. But for me, it's important to make a strict difference between being gay and being queer.
Yeah.
So when we analyze the philosophy of Ukrainian philosopher Grigory Skovoroda, we, as Anton Shebetko stresses in one of his articles, the philosophy of Skovoroda is a philosophy of queer, because it's always the opposition to being normal, to being Christian, to being something. Okay, but my question is another one. Coming out as gay is an action. Coming out as an artist is a choice to act. And what is coming out as a queer artist? Because on the other hand, we don't know artists who identify themselves as straight artists. So what does it mean being queer artist?
I think that it means that every day when I have exhibition and when I share by my art and my researchings, it is a form of coming out. Yes, I can say that always. It is difficult to be an artist without this process of coming out, but I can say that it was few years ago and it stopped. It's always. I always have to mention in different, projects, in different applications, to describe the most important issues for my art and theoretical practice, and it is always a form of a coming out. So it is everyday practice, but I think that the most spectacular form for me is this diploma project of Karol Radziszewski. It was a beautiful because he invited professors after 5 years of studies at the faculty of a painting in one of the most conservative academies in Poland. He invited them not to the flat in Warsaw, but to the Białystok. It's about 2 hours and a half by train from Warsaw to Białystok, to such private space like a home of his grandmother, to show, his a really personal story of his life, of the process of searching of his identity and also searching of his queer attitude. So for me, it's the clearest example of and most obvious example of coming out in art.
Clearest and queerest.
Yeah.
Ще питання, коментарі, заклики до революції. Okay, тоді, then I will have my last question and we will finish this official part. Queer is about being opposite, being an opposition to the title of this lecture is Deconstructing Normativity. But this is not the question on answer, what is queer? Because queer is not this, queer is not that, queer is not something else. But what is queer? My question is, can you imagine the time when queerness in art and in life will not be the opposition to normativity, but will become a normativity even for those straight people?
With this queer art, it is difficult because in some way, without the title and without description of the art project, we can say that it's example of queer art, because features of this art project are normal in some way. Yes, many times this queer convention is because of the complexity of different aspects, like strong color contrasts, sometimes very close to kitsch, some kind of influences of pop culture, yes. But when I focus mostly on these examples where queer artists want to really engage into the social life. For me, it is something where we can find a real criticism of this situation, difficult situation for our society, where we don't have a manifestation of the queer culture. Because, for example, these works of Daniel Rycharski, without the description, we see a lot of such great example of non-professional artists from villages who aren't queer artists. Yeah, it is a form of a dialogue. So I hope that in the future we will talk about art of LGBT societies as a form of cultural fight of for freedom and for liberation of human human rights, but also not only in the context of queer people. For me, it's very beautiful what's happening now in Ukraine, that this fight with Russia, with Putin, is not only a fight with another country, but it's a fight for a freedom, not only for Ukraine, but for all Europe, all people, and also LGBT societies, because we have different, mind perspectives. So it's open discussion, I think.
Дякуємо. Давайте подякуємо Матчу бурхливими оплесками.
And hope to see.